So a warm welcome all of you and wherever you're watching from. My name is Masaki. This is Unlock Your Talent with mentorship for young African scholars. And we are going to look into a lot of matters, first Africa, culture, and as well as education. We wouldn't get any other better guest for this show to start it off. And this is the very first episode. We're going to have a lot of things to discuss about education, mentorship in Africa, our culture, our language, everything. And this is where to find it. But for today, I am so honored, and it's a great pleasure to have Professor Langmia in Nairobi. Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya, and Kenya is in Africa, and this is where we are doing it from. Now, where do we begin from? Because I'm not able to make a brief introduction of the guest today. One, because I have attended a lot of forums that he has been. I have read a lot of things he has written online, a lot of books, journal articles, and of course his mentorship program, and the word Afrocentricity is full of him, very passionate about it. So if I make a brief introduction about him, I'll be lying, because he's wearing a lot of hats. And for that matter, I just have to welcome him to speak about him and make an introduction, the better he can. Professor Langmia, how are you doing?
Habari za mchana.
Salama kabisa. Zako zikoaje? Leo nilikuwa nimeamua tusizungumze Kiswahili, lakini kwa vile ameanza ni sawa pia. Unaendeleaje? What brings you to Africa, Professor?
Jina langu Kehbuma Langmia. Mimi ni mwalimu. Kutoka Cameroon, lakini naishi Amerikani, mji wa Washington DC. Hapa ninakaa Kilimani, Nairobi.
Hongera.
Ninazungumza Kiswahili kidogo, lakini kipenda sana Kiswahili.
Hongera sana.
You know, I just had to start like this.
Yes.
And this is a way to tell the African ancestors, to apologize to African ancestors, that if I am introducing myself to Africans, I should speak an African language.
And you're allowed to do it in this show.
So I'm asking for the apology before I can now use the Muzungu language, as we can say. So this is me.
Yes.
So I was born in Cameroon. The Portuguese call that country Cameroon, and we still call it today. Grew up in the village. In fact, I was moving bare feet in the village with my mother. You know, going to school, that's when I encountered the English language. But my father and my parents kept telling me that, look, education is the key, you know? So I really had to emphasize. They had to emphasize the fact that I really have to learn in order to improve myself economically.
Yes.
So from there I went to high school and then to the university in Cameroon, and then I left for Europe. From Europe I went to the United States because I really wanted to find out where is the end of knowledge. And I wanted to reach the summit. So I went to the United States, got a PhD in mass communication. At that time it was mass communication, now it's media studies. Yes. And then became a professor. Now I'm a visiting professor. That's why I find myself here in Kenya as a Pan-Africanist. And I've just come back from Uganda. So this is me.
Amazing, Professor. Of course, I have interacted with you, but our viewer hasn't done that. And there's a lot that you speak passionately about. And then as we start off this show, the word that probably you might not find in the dictionary is Afrocentricity. But then when you write, actually, this term, it keeps on telling you there's an error, even on the Word document. But that is not the reason as to why we will discuss about that, is because most of us, when we actually doing most of our studies, there is something that comes out as Afroethics. You know, we speak about Afromoto, we speak about Afro. Why are you so passionate about this thing, and what is it about? Good.
In fact, the father of Afrocentricity is Molefi Kete Asante. He started this movement a long time ago. In fact, he has about 100 books on it.
100 books?
Where, yeah, more than that. You see, And he is a professor at Temple University. Of course, we know it's 400 years and counting that Africans were hijacked from the continent of Africa to the New World, to the United States. They went there with their body. They also went there with their mind. They didn't go there to sell their dignity because they were forcefully ejected from the continent of Africa. And so because of slavery and servitude, they were dehumanized. But there comes a time when people had to now de-Westernize their mindset. And the proper way to de-Westernize their mindset was to embrace Afrocentricity, where Africa is the center. Because remember, mankind started in Africa, in East Africa.
In East Africa.
So this has been the worry that if mankind started in East Africa, why is the black person, why is the African losing his or her dignity in the global universe?
Yes.
So this is the genesis for Afrocentricity. That civilization actually started in Africa, in Egypt. And that any prosperity, whether you're looking from the cultural, the social, the economic, it started in Africa. So this is where the Afrocentricity comes about. That when you find yourself in Europe and America, as an African, as a black person, you need to project the virtues of Africanness. So this is the genesis of Afrocentricity. This is why I'm passionate about it. Because I don't want to lose my dignity, my culture, while moving on the streets of New York or Washington, D.C. I want to be respected. Because I am not like PLO Lumumba says, I'm not a child of a lesser God. I also have 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes. We are all the same. So respect me. I have a culture, I have a way of thinking, I have a way of reacting to issues, which you need to study. And so we should not be brainwashed after 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference that artificially created boundaries in this country, that we should hate ourselves and now have tribalism and ethnicity. We should not be in that trap because that's what they wanted. That's why you have the conflict in Africa. So Afrocentricity, we let us forget about it and instead extol the virtues of Africa and Africanness.
Thank you, Prof. But then where do we go wrong as Africans? Because I will give an example of when I was going to Canada for ICA conference, which is the International Communication Association conference. I was so embarrassed in the flight that we were 3 Africans and we couldn't even communicate a same language. I would only try to get online and tell the person to type for me what they're saying in whichever language they will understand, and then translate so that I can now start responding. So the question is, where are we going wrong as Africans, and where are we not in love of what we can speak, and why don't we even have a common even language that we can refer to?
You see, I'm very happy that you brought this up. And I really want to be very sincere to you, because these are things that brings tears in the eyes. Nkrumah and the Nyerere, after independence, when they had the first OAU summit, they were advocating for unity of the African states. In fact, Nkrumah in 1957, when Ghana was getting its independence, said, Ghana is not free until the entire African continent is free. This was the issue of the unity. And there's no other way to achieve unity than to promote it through language. We now took over independence, and we made our official languages the colonial languages, English and French and Portuguese and Spanish. This was an anathema. This is where we started going wrong. So we have children in school, and I myself, I witnessed the English language the first day I went to primary school. And it was an insult. And remember, Sheikh Anta Diop says, there is no way you can gain development using another person's language. That's Sheikh Anta Diop, who is one of those revered African philosophers. So the fact that we are still putting the future of this country through languages that is colonial, and now Russian languages are coming, Chinese languages are coming, there is no way we are going to extricate ourselves from the cocoon of slavery and servitude. So that's where we went wrong. So now Afrocentricity is saying, take care, be careful, come back to your roots. And that's why we are so proud that at least Kiswahili is the official language of East Africa. I was in Uganda and I was asking, why am I not Why am I not listening to Kiswahili everywhere? They say slowly but surely it will come, because there is still an antagonism against Kiswahili in Uganda because of what happened during the Idi Amin era. But again, slowly people will change, because as I said, everybody loves using his or her own language, because it's through language that culture is transmitted. Proverbs are exchanged, rituals are exchanged. In fact, the fact that I'm still using this language to you, in fact, I'm thinking in English. And so I have to make sure that my sentences are constructed correctly. Divorcing me from my African culture. You see, this is a problem. I cannot use... It's a big problem for us, and we have to look for a way to see that all the black people, and that's a movement I'm carrying, all black people in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, in Caribbean, in North America, speak Kiswahili, the language for the black people.
Wow. So, Prof, moving on swiftly to just discussing about where we went wrong, and there's a narrative in Africa. As Africans feel that whoever who moves from Africa and goes to Europe or even goes to the United States of America never comes back. First of all, they always attribute this to, they have gained knowledge, now they are superior, they are these and they are this better, so they don't want to come back. But then for you, I've met you several times, and not just in Kenya, but even you've spoken of going to Uganda. What brings you back?
Yes, you know, the Pan-African movement started way back in the 1900s. W.E.B. Du Bois, Nkrumah, and Nyerere. And we've had all kinds of editions of Pan-African Congresses. In fact, it was one of those Pan-African Congresses in 1945 and subsequently that helped the movement for independence of Africa. So it was actually triggered by Africans or black people in the diaspora. Why were they, if you really want to think about it sincerely, why were they pushing for the independence of Africa? Because they noticed that they did not have a lot of dignity in the United States, because they realized that Africa was still on the shaky ground in the colonial state. It means they were still being ruled as if they were younger brothers of Europe. So they said, no, we Africans, we can learn to govern ourselves. Now we got independence in 1960. Hooray! There was celebration all over. In fact, Pierre Lumumba said it was an earth-moving episode on the continent of Africa, that they gave the land to us. It was us now. We have to now decide how we will govern ourselves, how we will dress, how we will eat. That is what happened. But now there was a problem of the neo-colonial. You see, it was an independence through the broken mirror, because the white man did not really leave. And so there was an indirect way for them to come back here, through the economy, through the money. You know, you just told me about how right now Kenyans are going and giving their eyes there for $70. You see, so it is still that money that is putting us under slavery, putting us under chains, putting us in prison. Why have I decided to be a Pan-Africanist? Not necessarily because I read about this thing, but I grew up on this continent and I saw the dignity of my uncles, my grandparents, and my aunties. They were happy in their poverty. And when I went to the States, passing through Europe, I noticed that there was a lot of individualism. It was everybody for himself and the rest of the world should cater for themselves. I said, but this was communal life in Africa, where everybody knew their neighbors. In fact, it was a celebration even to send me to the airport. So I was eager to get to that kind of life. That's why I decided to be coming back here as a visiting professor to now tell my people about the importance of embracing the African culture and being so much proud of who they are, rather importing things from Europe that looks artificial. In fact, Black Panther movie showed this to us. The Black Panther movie showed to us how our women looked so natural in their dresses, so natural in their appearances, and so natural in the languages that they were using. And these were shot in Hollywood, in California.
I, Mbaku, leader of the Jabari wisdom. I accept your challenge.
This was a lesson to you guys, you know? So that is why I am in love and passionate to always come. You know, coming to the continent is like, like Pierre Lubomba would say, it's like my own retroviral drug that will keep me for the next 6 months, then I'll come back again, like the AIDS patient. Yeah, I come to get the inspiration. It's like I come to get the blessings of the ancestors.
Yes.
Let them place their hand at the back, at my back, and say, welcome back, son. Now they give me the energy, and then I go to the Muzungu land, and then I'll be able to perform and teach in class. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
Well,
I really understand.
Thank you.
Well, let's do tea then, because you spoke about how we eat.
You see, you don't even know, when I take this tea, you don't know what it does to me.
Yes.
In fact, I have the image of my forefathers in this tea that I'm drinking here, using an African cup. Huh? This is what makes me me. And I can go and teach with pride in the Muzungu land. My brother, look. There is no other place that you can have peace of mind than here on the continent of Africa. That's why I have to come here all the time.
And we stay here
Yeah.
ourselves. Now, Prof, you have authored a number of books.
Good.
I mean, uncountable, I mean, all journal articles. And you have passion in education, something that some of us lack in Africa. We just have to start with the first degree, and we say these papers will never help us do anything. They will never help us achieve our dreams. But then you keep on going, and I know, of course, you just released the latest book of Black Communication in the Digital Age of Disinformation just on 16 July this year. But what is probably, do you think, could be your role and other African scholars' role in mentoring the young African scholars? Probably they have lost hope. They just go to school, and then whatever they get when they go to the market, they're told you're so theoretical. So they just become so desperate.
Thank you for that question. In fact, I will use myself as an example. My father warned me that you will stay here and be working in the farms with us for the rest of your life, unless and until you acquire education and higher education. Why was my father saying that? Because he noticed that those who were coming in luxurious cars in the village, they were working for the government. They were wearing suits. So he found out, how did they get? He said they went to education. They learn about what is happening outside the village. You understand? So that one is one of the triggers for me to embrace education. Now, I decided that now that I've finished my education with a PhD and I'm a professor, the only way for me now to maintain some kind of continuity with my people on the continent of Africa was to be writing books about my own experience and about the challenges that will be following them if they don't acquire education. Because as I'm sitting here, I was just telling you a few moments ago, why am I here? I'm here because I'm a publisher. Not that somebody just saw me, I'm tall and handsome and good looking. No, it's because they Google you nowadays. Wherever you go, they Google you. I was in Australia giving a speech, and people were with their laptop Googling me. And then after that, I was taken aside for a question about what I'm writing about social media in Africa. What I'm writing about African culture and about Afrocentricity. If I did not publish in that area, how are they going to know about our continent? How are they going to know about some apps that are being used on this continent? In fact, we have apps that are used here, but we are abandoning them for Twitter, for YouTube, for LinkedIn, for Snapchat. Why? And Instagram, simply because we don't embrace our own and we don't love our own. And I'm saying, no, we need to change. Niger Pal is there. For most Nigerians, it is there that they use their pidgin English. They say things that will not have been accepted on other social media platforms. Look at WhatsApp, and these are things I covered in my book. Why don't we own WhatsApp Africa, where we can subdivide itself through the kind of languages that we use and some of the cultural elements that we can use from West, East, and North Africa? Why do we allow Zuckerberg and Facebook to own WhatsApp, and then there are millions of Africans on WhatsApp? The Chinese have their Chinese Weibo. The Arab, they have their bars, where they use their languages and they use their culture. So we keep embracing things that are from the West, and part of it is because of the brainwashing, part of it is because of colonization. And so I write just to follow the footsteps of the Ngugi wa Thiong'o, that talked about the decolonizing of the mind, of the African mind. That if we decolonize our mind, then we will appreciate Look at what we have on the table here. We appreciate African food.
Yes.
We appreciate African tea. And now the outsiders will say, oh, these people have dignity. Now we need to bargain before we get into their life. Russia will have to bargain before they come and they teach their Russian languages here. Because we ask them, all right, let Kiswahili also be taught in Moscow, in all schools in Moscow.
Yes.
Then we can now speak. But we can't do that.
But why are we not doing that?
We are not doing that. Why? Because we still believe, as I said, we are children of a lesser God. We are still secondary. We are still like their younger brother. We think that they are in heaven and we have to follow suit, forgetting that mankind started from here and that even they themselves admire Africa a lot. That's why they keep coming here. Everything about the world, Africa submit and push things down to the life of those who are abroad. Yes. Ali Mazrui said that without Africa, the whole world will go hungry. Without Africa. I don't want to go into the minerals. I don't want to go into all those food items that they all come here and they are exporting. We have everything here on the continent. Yet we still want to embrace what is coming. Again, it's because of the colonial mindset. So my books are about decolonization. That we can still embrace what we have and the world will come to us begging.
Yes.
That's it.
And we're going to take a short break, but this is how we cheers with tea. All right, but when we come back, we'll speak more about Professor Langmia's books and also more about the Black Africana theories.